Hello, my awesome first grade artist. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this Polish folk art flower design. And we're going to be talking about lots of elements of art. We're going to talk about lines and the different kinds of lines that we can make. We're going to be talking about color, warm and cool colors, and we're going to be talking about shapes. You're going to be drawing lots of shapes in this project. So I told you that this is Polish folk art. Folk art is a type of art that is made by people who don't really go to school to learn how to do it. They just are taught it by family members and people in their community, and it's passed down from generation to generation. And people in Poland, often their folk art will have these flower designs in it. So let me show you a little about Poland. Poland is a country, like we are a country. We live in the country of the United States of America, right here. And if you go across the big Atlantic Ocean, Poland is over here. They're on the continent of Europe, and their country is Poland. We are on the continent of North America, but we live in the country of the United States of America. So this is where Poland is. And like I told you, in Poland, they like to do lots of designs with flowers. This is one I want to show you. This is called pisanki. That's a Polish word, and it means painted eggs. So like we decorate our Easter eggs, they decorate these eggs in Poland, and they paint flowers on them. And something really neat, we have paintbrushes we use, but the ladies over there often make their paintbrushes from the tails, the hair tail on their cows. Isn't that neat? So look at these beautiful flowers that they put on here. These are examples of folk art flowers. And another picture I want to show you is of a house in a village in Poland called Zalipi. And people in this village paint their houses, their barns, their walls, their furniture, their clothes, even their trees. Almost anything you can think of, they paint these beautiful designs on it. Look at this cute house. It's got lots of flowers all around it using this Polish folk art flower design. I think this is so pretty. So I'm going to go back to mine, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. I'm going to tell you about the materials you need first. So you'll need a piece of paper. This one is a piece of tag board. It's kind of like poster board. I'm going to show you a technique where you can use your markers wet, but you need a piece of thicker paper, because if you use paper that's too thin, it won't really do right. But you don't have to use the wet marker technique. So if you just wanted to color yours with crayons and markers, that's fine. You just need to use whatever you have at your house. So you'll need a piece of paper, or a heavy piece of paper if you have that, or even watercolor paper if you have that. If you have watercolor paper, it'll really do nice. You need some markers and crayons, and a Sharpie marker would be good, a permanent marker. And like I said, the water and brush that we're going to use to do the wet marker technique. So first I'm going to start, I've got a piece of watercolor paper. We're going to turn it horizontally. So that means that the long side is going across. I'm going to show you how to start out drawing your flowers. I'm going to draw mine with a Sharpie marker, because later I'm going to be using some water on here, and if I use the Sharpie, it's a permanent marker. It won't run and bleed. So if you have a Sharpie marker, you can use that. And if you want to start by using a pencil, that's okay too, and you might want to go back and later outline it with your Sharpie. But I want you to be able to see what I'm drawing, so I'm using my Sharpie. So we're going to make 3 flowers on here, and we're going to make them fill the page. So remember from my last videos, a lot of times when I draw stuff, I start by tracing with my finger, and it helps me know where to put everything. So I'm going to make my first middle flower, the flower that's in the very middle of the page, and it's going to be about as big as my hand. So I'm going to kind of practice with my finger first where that flower is going to go. It's a line that curves up. So I'm going to start back right about there, and I'm just going to make a big line, a big U. Doesn't that look kind of like the letter U? All right, so on this side I need to make one, and it's about the same as my hand. So I start over here, fill the page, make another big U, and then I've got room for one more over here. You're going to have 3 flowers. Make another U. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is make the tops of the flowers, and I'm going to use different kinds of lines. I'm going to show you the lines I'm going to make, and you can use whatever kind of line you want because yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine. So on my first one, I'm going to make kind of like a scalloped line. It's like this. See these little bumpy curves I'm making? And I just go all the way across. Right on my middle one, I'm going to do a zigzag. Down, up, down. It's kind of these diagonal lines that go up and down. And on my last one, I'm going to make a curvy or wavy line. But remember, you make whatever kind of lines you want. Now I'm going to make the stems. They'll start in the middle at the bottom of each flower and go all the way to the bottom of the page. So you just make a straight vertical. Vertical is up and down, a straight vertical lines. Do it on each flower. We'll go ahead and make the stems first. Okay, 3 stems. Now we need some leaves. So I'm going to make 3 different kinds of leaves. You can make whatever kind of leaves you want, but I'm going to show you how I make mine. So this first flower, I'm going to make some elliptical shaped leaves. Elliptical shapes are kind of like a football shape. So I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to start at the stem, and I'm going to go down and curve and up. See how that's kind of like a football shape? And I'm going to do one on this side. They don't all have to be the same size, but you need to make them kind of big so they fill your space right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing under it. I'm going to make another set of those. Okay, good. Now on this one, I'm going to make some curvy leaves, rounded leaves. So I'm going to start back at my stem, and I'm going to go around and back to the stem. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, round and back to the stem. And let's make 2 more down here. It's good when they all are different. It's a good thing to have variety in your artwork when everything doesn't look the same. Now the last one I'm going to do is kind of a neat shape. It reminds me of a butterfly's wing, but we're making a leaf. I'm going to show you how I make it. So I'm going to start at the stem, and I'm going to kind of curve up, then where you left off, you go down, and then you curve around. Doesn't that kind of look like the wing of a butterfly? Let's do one this way. So I'm going to start at the stem. I'm going to go up and kind of curve. Down. And around. Okay, now we need to divide our flowers. We need to divide them into some different shapes. Divide each one up. We're going to make 2 lines that go horizontally across to divide our flowers up. So you'll have lots of areas to color different colors. So the first one, and remember these are lines, you can do whatever kind of line you want. You don't have to do yours exactly like mine. But so I know where to start my line, I'm going to put 3 fingers, and I know to start my line there. That'll give me enough space. So I'm going to make my first one, I'm just going to make a big kind of curved down line. And then I'm going to put 3 fingers here, and I'm going to make another scallop, but I'm going to make different size scallops. That was a big one, and then a little one. Okay, so that gives me 1, 2, 3 shapes that I can color inside my flower. All right, let's do this one. I'm going to put 3 fingers, and I'm going to make another scallop, but I'm going to make them not so big. They're all going to be the same. Bump, 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 bump. And I'm going to put 3 fingers, and I'm going to do another curve, but this time I think I'll curve up. I curved down here, so I wanted to make that different. And then on my last one, I'm going to put my 3 fingers, and zigzag lines are fun. Zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag. And then 3 more fingers, and I don't have many straight lines in this, so I think I'll just do a straight horizontal line. And then the last thing I'm going to do are make these little stamens that come up out of the flower. And this is where the pollen is, where the bees and the hummingbirds, they like to come and get that pollen and that nectar. So look, to make our stamens, you start at the top and you make a line up, 2 vertical lines, and then a circle at the top. Up, up, circle, up, up, circle. I'm putting a lot on this one. You don't have to put this many. I think I'll just put 3 on this one. So I'm going to start about here and I'm going to go up, up, circle, up, up, circle, up, up, circle. And then the last one, I think it'd be fun if it curves a little bit. So I'm going to kind of curve it and then put a circle. Curve that one a little bit. Remember, I told you variety is good. That's when everything doesn't all look the same. And then we need one more thing. We need some little patterns in these flowers. So we're going to use ovals and circles to make patterns. So in each flower, I want you to find one shape where you're going to add either ovals or circles. So on this one, I'm going to do it up here. I'm going to make some big circles in here. Don't make them too tiny or it'll be really hard to color. Circles. You can put yours wherever you want though. Just one of these shapes needs to have a circle. So in this one, I'm going to make some circles in here. I'm just going across, making some circles. We're making pattern in our picture. And on the last one, I'll do one down here. So I'm going to do ovals. An oval is like a long, stretched out circle. Long, stretched out circle. Okay, and there's my drawing. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add color to this. So we're going to talk about warm and cool colors. Let me show you my finished one again. Every flower is going to be either warm or cool. So we're going to start with warm colors. Warm colors are colors that we think of things that make us feel hot or warm, like the sun and fire. When we think about the sun and fire, we think of these colors like yellow, orange, and red. Those are our warm colors. Cool colors are things that we associate with things that are cool or cold. Blue, green, purple. When you think of ice, you think of blues and different shades of greens and purples. So our first flower is going to be warm colors, the flower part. Now the stems, they're going to all be cool because we think of stems as being greens and these shades of blue. But the flower, the first flower we do is going to be warm. Then we're going to have a cool flower. And then on the last flower, I want you to decide if you want it to be warm or cool. All right, so I'm going to show you on mine. I'm going to start here. Remember I said we're doing warm. So one of the first things I want to show you is this. This is a little technique you can do with markers. So a minute ago you used a permanent, if you outline it or if you just drew it, you used a Sharpie. Sharpie markers are permanent. That means they won't bleed and they won't run when they get wet. Now Crayola markers are water-based, and so if you add water, they will run and bleed. So I'm going to go in, and this will do best if you have thick paper like poster board paper, not the slick side, but the side that's more rough, or watercolor paper. This won't do as well if you have like copy paper. So if you have copy paper, you may not want to do this step because when the paper gets wet, it might get a hole in it. But I have thick watercolor paper. So I'm going to go around the edges with my red. Remember, red's a warm color, and we're doing this first flower in warm colors. And because I'm going to add water to it, I don't have to really be really neat right now. I'm going to make this look like paint in a few minutes. I'm just going around my edges. I'm trying to stay inside my flower, but on the inside, I'm not worried about it being too neat. Okay, so just kind of around your edges. And then I'm going to take my brush. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see. I've got a container with water and my brush is in it. And I am going to get my brush wet. And at first your brush may have a lot of water. If it's got too much water, just kind of drag it off on the side a little bit. And then you go over here and you just start painting, and look at that beautiful red, how it just turns into paint. Isn't that pretty? It looks like watercolor now. But remember, if you're using copy paper, like for a printer that you might have at the house, this probably wouldn't do as well. You have to have really thick paper. This is watercolor paper. And I'm going to get a little more water. My brush is starting to get dry. When your brush gets real dry and scratchy, you need to add some more water. Isn't that pretty? So like I said, if you don't have this kind of paper, you don't have to do this step. You might just want to color yours with crayons and markers. So I'm going to put my brush back. And I'm going to zoom back in a little bit. And now I'm going to go in this section with just crayons. So I'm going to get an orange crayon. And I'm going to start coloring. Remember, we're doing warm. So I'm going to show you about coloring. When you color, you go in the same direction. I'm going to go all the way across, all the way to the other side of my flower. And then I stop, and then you go back again. This is like a ladder. It's like we're making a ladder. We're just going in rows. If you press down really hard with your crayon, it's going to be darker. If you press down light, it'll be a lighter shade. And that's fun to do different shades in there as well. So you can do lots of things with crayons. Okay. And then in some sections of your flower, you may just want to use markers. So in the stamens, I'm going to just do markers. So I think I'll just come up here, got my yellow, and just color those in solid. So in every one of these shapes that you've created, I want you to go in and color. You can use marker, you can use the wet marker technique that I showed you, or you can use crayons. So you'll make all of this flower be warm colors. Let me go back to my finished one. The middle flower will be cool colors. And then the last flower, you decide if you want it warm or cool. I wanted mine warm again, but you could make yours cool. And then you can do your stems and leaves just in shades of greens and blues and cool colors. So I cannot wait to see what you do. I hope your mom and dad will email me some pictures. I can put them on Artsonia. We can save some stuff for the Gumtree Art Show. I really want to see what you've been doing. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.